In a small town, where the streets were quiet and the people knew each other by name, there was a little garage tucked away on the corner. This garage wasn't fancy or big like the ones you see in movies. It was simple, a bit old, with rusty tools hanging on the walls and the smell of oil and gasoline filling the air. But to the people in the town, this garage was special because it was run by Earl, a black mechanic who was known for being honest, hard-working, and very good with cars. Earl wasn't just any mechanic. He was one of the best in the town. People trusted him because he always fixed their cars right the first time. He didn't rush or try to cheat anyone. Instead, he took his time, listened carefully, and used his knowledge passed down from his own father and years of experience. Earl had hands that knew every part of a car's engine like the back of his own hand. But even though he was good at his work, he didn't talk much. He was quiet and humble, never bragging or showing off. His customers liked him because he was kind and treated everyone with respect. Earl also had a daughter named Maya. Maya was a smart and curious girl, around 16 years old. She had grown up watching her father work in the garage every day. From the moment she was little, she loved to be near him, watching him take apart engines, fix brakes, and solve problems with cars that looked impossible to fix. While other kids were playing outside or watching TV, Maya was happiest when she was sitting next to her dad with a wrench in her hand, trying to understand how everything worked. Maya didn't just watch. She learned. She listened carefully to her father's instructions and asked questions about the engines and parts. But Earl never pushed her to work in the garage. He knew the world was tough and sometimes unfair, especially for a black girl like Maya, and he wanted her to have choices. Still, he was proud that she loved what he did and that she had a natural talent for fixing things. Even though Maya was good with cars, she kept it a secret. She was shy and didn't want to cause trouble at her father's work. She knew the boss of the garage, Mr. Dalton, wasn't someone who liked girls, especially black girls, getting involved in men's work. Mr. Dalton was the owner of the garage and the one who decided what jobs everyone got. He was a tall man with a loud voice and a proud smile, but he often looked down on Earl and his family. He didn't believe Maya had any real skill, and he liked to remind everyone of that. One ordinary morning, as the sun was just starting to rise and the town was waking up, Earl was working on a rusty old pickup truck. Maya was sitting nearby, holding a small wrench and watching closely. Suddenly, the truck's carburetor, a tricky part that helps the engine run, started acting up. Earl scratched his head, looking frustrated. This was a tough problem, and he needed to think carefully. Without saying a word, Maya quietly stood up and walked over. She pointed to a tiny part inside the carburetor and suggested a small adjustment. Earl looked surprised. "Are you sure?" he asked gently. Maya nodded confidently. "Try this," she said. Earl smiled and made the change. To everyone's surprise, the truck's engine roared back to life perfectly. The old truck purred like a kitten after being fixed for years. Earl looked at his daughter with pride shining in his eyes. But then he shook his head, whispering, "Keep this between us. The boss won't believe it." Maya smiled but understood. She knew it was better to be careful. She didn't want to make Mr. Dalton angry or cause trouble for her father. Days passed, and life in the garage continued. Earl worked hard, fixing cars and earning respect. Maya kept learning and practicing whenever she could. She dreamed about one day becoming a real mechanic or engineer, but she also knew the road wouldn't be easy. There were many challenges ahead, especially because not everyone would accept her or believe in her talent. Meanwhile, Mr. Dalton continued to run the garage with his loud voice and quick judgments. He often made jokes about Earl and the others, and he didn't like seeing Maya around the tools. To him, a girl didn't belong in the garage. But Earl and Maya didn't let his harsh words stop them. They worked quietly, building their skills, and waiting for the right moment. The moment came unexpectedly. One afternoon, a fancy sports car arrived at the garage. It was shiny and beautiful, with a powerful engine that looked complicated and different from anything Earl had ever seen. The owner of the car was a wealthy man from the city, and he was worried because his car wouldn't start. He told Mr. Dalton that many mechanics had already tried to fix the engine, but failed. Mr. Dalton immediately wanted to show off. He told Earl to take the job and promised to pay well if it was fixed on time. Earl accepted the challenge but knew it would be hard. The engine was new, complicated, and strange. The tools in the garage didn't match, and the wiring looked confusing. For days, Earl worked late into the night. He took the engine apart and studied every piece carefully. He tried different fixes, but nothing worked. The engine remained silent. He felt frustrated but didn't give up. Maya watched him, learning from every move. One day, Maya couldn't stay quiet anymore. She started to study the engine secretly, making notes and trying to understand how it worked. She spent hours reading manuals and watching videos on her phone. She had a natural gift for seeing things differently and solving problems. When Mr. Dalton noticed Maya's interest, he laughed and said loudly, "What can a little girl know about this impossible engine? I dare you to try fixing it, Maya. Go ahead, show us what you've got." Everyone in the garage stopped to watch. Some laughed quietly, others whispered. Mr. Dalton was sure Maya would fail and embarrass herself. But Maya didn't back down. She took a deep breath and stepped forward. The moment had come to prove herself, not just to the boss, but to the whole world. The moment the fancy sports car arrived at the garage, it was clear this wasn't just any ordinary job. The car was sleek and shiny, with smooth curves and a powerful presence that made people stop and stare. Its paint gleamed like glass in the sunlight, and the engine was something new, something special. It was a high-performance imported sports car with an engine design that most mechanics had never seen before. Even Earl, who had been fixing engines for years, was a little nervous about this one. The owner of the car, a wealthy man from the city, was worried. He had already taken his car to several mechanics and specialists, but no one could figure out what was wrong with it. The engine wouldn't start, and without it running, the car was just a beautiful but useless machine. He needed help fast, and he had heard about Earl's garage, though he wasn't sure what to expect from a small-town mechanic. Mr. Dalton, the boss of the garage, saw this as his chance to shine. He wanted to impress the rich client and show everyone that his garage could handle the most difficult jobs. He was proud and confident, sometimes too much. When the car arrived, he immediately told Earl to take care of it and promised a big reward if the job was done on time. But he made it clear that this was his project, and Earl had to prove himself under his watchful eye. Earl took the challenge seriously. He knew the engine was unlike anything he had worked on before. The design was complicated, the parts were unfamiliar, and the tools he had in the garage were not the right ones for this type of engine. The wiring was a maze of tiny cables and tubes that seemed impossible to understand. Earl spent hours studying the engine, trying to find the source of the problem. The days went by and Earl worked harder than ever. He stayed late into the night, reading manuals, watching videos on his phone, and carefully inspecting every piece of the engine. He tried many different approaches, testing the fuel system, checking the ignition, measuring electrical circuits, but nothing worked. The engine remained silent, stubborn, and impossible to fix. Maya watched her father during this difficult time. She saw how tired he was, how much pressure he was under. Even though Earl was a great mechanic, this engine was breaking his spirit. But Maya didn't give up hope. She felt a growing curiosity about the strange engine and began to study it, herself when no one was watching. She spent hours at the garage after school, taking careful notes and trying to understand the engine's secrets. She compared what she saw to pictures in books and videos online. Slowly, piece by piece, she started to see the pattern. The engine worked differently from what Earl had learned years ago. It had special parts that needed special care, and the Way the fuel and air mixed was different from normal engines. Maya's quiet study was not a secret for long. One afternoon, Mr. Dalton caught her near the engine, looking under the hood and taking notes. He laughed loudly, his voice echoing through the garage. "What are you doing, little girl? You think you can fix this impossible engine?" he sneered. The other mechanics stopped working and turned to look at Maya. Some smirked, others whispered behind her back. Mr. Dalton loved to tease Earl and his family. He didn't believe that Maya had any real skill, and he enjoyed mocking her. "If you think you're so smart, why don't you try fixing it?" "I dare you," he said, his tone full of challenge and disbelief. Everyone waited to see what Maya would do. They thought it would be funny to watch her fail. Maya felt a mixture of fear and determination. She wanted to prove herself, not just to Mr. Dalton, but to everyone who had ever doubted her. She remembered how proud her father had been when she helped with the carburetor. That small success gave her confidence. She took a deep breath and nodded. She was ready to accept the dare. Earl was surprised when Maya told him she wanted to try fixing the engine. He worried it might be too much for her. "It's dangerous, Maya," he said quietly. "This engine is tricky. You don't want to get hurt or make things worse." But Maya smiled and said, "I want to help, Dad. I know I can do it." So Maya prepared herself. She asked for some tools she had seen in the videos, tools that were different from what the garage usually used. Mr. Dalton raised his eyebrows but let her have them, probably expecting her to fail. When Maya started working on the engine, everyone watched closely. Some were curious, some doubted her, and others just wanted to see how this would end. She didn't rush or panic. Instead, she worked carefully, using the knowledge she had gained from her own studies. She rewired some of the circuits, adjusted the flow of fuel and air, and replaced a few small parts that seemed worn out or wrong for this engine. As she worked, she explained what she was doing to the people around her. She talked about the special way the engine needed fuel and air mixed, and how the wiring had to be just right for the sensors to work. At first, the other mechanics didn't understand. Some rolled their eyes, thinking she was just guessing. But slowly, their expressions changed. They began to realize Maya was not just a girl trying to fix a car. She was thinking like a true engineer. The moment of truth came when Maya turned the key in the ignition. Everyone held their breath. For a second, there was silence. Then, the engine roared to life. It didn't sputter or cough. It ran smoothly and powerfully, just like the owner had hoped. The garage filled with surprise and awe. Mr. Dalton's mouth hung open. He couldn't believe what he had just seen. The wealthy car owner, who had been standing quietly by, came forward with a big smile. He shook Maya's hand and said, "I've never seen anyone fix that engine before. You're amazing." Earl was filled with pride. He looked at his daughter with tears in his eyes. Maya had done something no one else in the town, or maybe even the country, could do. She had taken a chance and won. But the story didn't end there. Mr. Dalton's shock soon turned into jealousy. He couldn't accept that a young girl, especially the daughter of a mechanic he looked down on, had stolen the spotlight. Instead of praising Maya, he started saying things to make her seem lucky, or like her father had helped too much. Maya didn't let his words bother her. She knew the truth and was ready to prove it again. She was determined to show that her knowledge and skill were real. The garage was about to see that this was just the beginning of something big. After Maya accepted the dare, the entire garage was buzzing with excitement, curiosity, and a little bit of doubt. Everyone had their eyes on her, waiting to see what she would do. Some of the mechanics whispered among themselves, wondering if she was really serious. Others smiled with disbelief, thinking this was just going to be a funny show where Maya would try and fail. Mr. Dalton, the boss, sat back with a confident smirk, certain that Maya's attempt would end in disaster, and he would have more fuel to mock Earl and his family. Maya knew she was under pressure, but instead of feeling scared, she felt a strange kind of calm. Years of watching her father work had taught her how to stay focused and think carefully. She took a deep breath and walked over to the complicated engine. It looked even more mysterious up close. The wires were tangled like a web. The parts seemed tiny and delicate, and there was a strange smell of oil and fuel mixed together. But Maya wasn't afraid. She had spent nights studying this exact kind of engine online, reading every manual she could find, and practicing the ideas in her mind. Maya started by looking closely at the wiring. She could see that some cables were connected in the wrong places or were loose. She gently rewired them, connecting the sensors to the engine's computer in the correct way. This was something Earl hadn't figured out yet because the wiring was very different from the old engines he was used to fixing. Maya's careful hands moved with confidence, and every step she took was based on logic and knowledge she had gathered. As she worked, she talked quietly but clearly, explaining what she was doing. "This engine uses a special fuel injection system," she said. "The fuel has to mix perfectly with the air to burn right. If the wiring is off, the sensors won't tell the engine what to do, and it won't start." Some of the mechanics glanced at her, surprised at how well she understood the complicated machine. One of the older mechanics whispered, "She really knows her stuff." Next, Maya checked the fuel lines. She found a small valve that was stuck halfway open, stopping the right amount of fuel from reaching the engine. Carefully, she cleaned the valve and adjusted it. Then she moved on to the air intake, where the air mixed with fuel. She made sure the filters were clean and replaced a tiny gasket that was cracked. It was a small part, but important for making the engine run smoothly. The garage was silent except for the sound of Maya's tools clicking and clanking. Even Mr. Dalton stopped talking and watched her carefully, his face showing a mix of disbelief and worry. He had never seen anyone work on an engine with such calm and knowledge, especially not a young girl like Maya. After finishing the repairs, Maya turned to the ignition key. Everyone held their breath. The moment felt like the whole garage was frozen in time. She turned the key slowly, hoping her work was right. For a second, nothing happened. Then the engine came to life. It didn't sputter or hesitate. It roared smoothly, powerful and steady. The car's engine sounded like a beast awakening after a long sleep. The room exploded with cheers and applause. The mechanics clapped, some shaking their heads in disbelief. Mr. Dalton's jaw dropped open, and his confident smirk disappeared. The rich car owner smiled broadly, his eyes shining with happiness. "This is incredible," he said, shaking Maya's hand again. "You've saved my car. I've never seen anything like this." Earl was overwhelmed with pride and joy. He hugged his daughter tightly. "You did it, Maya. I knew you could," he whispered. Tears came to his eyes. After all the years of teaching her and watching her grow, this moment was a dream come true. But not everyone was happy. Mr. Dalton's surprise quickly turned into anger and jealousy. Instead of congratulating Maya, he tried to make excuses. "She just got lucky," he said loudly. "Maybe Earl helped her more than she says. It's probably just a fluke." Some of the other mechanics nodded, unsure of what to believe but sensing the tension. Maya didn't let his words bother her. She stayed calm and strong. She wanted to show everyone that her success was real and deserved. "I can explain everything I did," she said quietly but firmly. "If you want, I can show you how the wiring works, how the fuel injection system needs to be set up, and why the valve was causing the problem." At first people hesitated, but one by one they came closer, interested in hearing Maya's explanation. She spoke clearly, using simple words but showing deep understanding. She walked through each step she took, how the wiring needed to be arranged, how fuel and air had to mix perfectly, and why the small parts mattered so much. Even the mechanics who had doubted her started to listen carefully. They asked questions, and Maya answered with confidence. Slowly, the skepticism in the room faded. The impossible engine that had troubled so many before was now running perfectly because of her knowledge and skill. Mr. Dalton was silent. His face was red with embarrassment, but he didn't admit he was wrong. Instead, he tried to change the subject, talking about the money the job would bring. But the damage was done. Everyone saw who the real talent was. News about Maya's incredible achievement spread quickly through the town. Someone had taken a video of the moment the engine started and shared it online. The video went viral, getting thousands of views, from people amazed by Maya's skills and bravery. People called the garage, asking to meet the girl who fixed the impossible engine. Maya and Earl were suddenly in the spotlight. Invitations came from local schools and community groups, asking her to speak about her passion for mechanics and engineering. She became a role model for many young girls, especially girls of color, showing them that they too could succeed in fields often seen as for boys. Meanwhile, Mr. Dalton's attitude became more sour. He tried to take credit for Maya's success, telling people he had trained her personally. Earl and Maya didn't argue with him publicly. Instead, they focused on their work and the future. They knew their actions and honesty would speak louder than words. One day, the wealthy car owner who had brought in the sports car returned. He was impressed not only by Maya's skill but also by her attitude and determination. He offered Maya a scholarship to a top engineering school and a summer internship at a high-end auto lab in the city. It was a chance of a lifetime. Earl was proud but also a little sad. He knew Maya's future was bigger than the small town and their garage, but he was happy that her hard work and talent were finally being recognized. Maya accepted the offer, ready to take the next step in her journey. But she promised to keep coming back to help her father and inspire others in the town. The garage was no longer just a small place for fixing cars. It had become a symbol of hope and possibility. Certainly. Here is Part 4 explained in simple and interesting English, approximately 2,000 words, without headings. After Maya's amazing success with the impossible engine, the whole town started to look at her differently. People who never noticed her before began to admire her. She wasn't just Earl's daughter anymore. She was someone special, someone who could solve problems that no one else could. The garage became busier, with more people bringing their cars to be fixed by Maya and her father. The once quiet place was now alive with energy and excitement. But Maya's life was about to change in ways she never expected. When the rich car owner offered her a scholarship to a top engineering school and a summer internship at a famous auto lab in the city, it was like a dream come true. Maya was thrilled but also nervous. She had never been away from her small town for so long, and the idea of living in a big city filled her with both excitement and fear. Earl was proud but worried. He knew his daughter had a bright future, but the thought of her leaving the town and the garage where she had learned so much felt like losing a part of himself. Still, he wanted the best for Maya. He supported her decision to go, promising to keep the garage running and to visit her whenever he could. Maya packed her bags with care. She took her favorite tools, some books, and a photo of her and her father working together. She wanted to remember where she came from and the people who had helped her grow. The morning she left, the whole garage came to say goodbye. Some of the mechanics who had once doubted her now wished her well with honest smiles. The engineering school was everything Maya imagined and more. It was huge, with tall buildings, advanced labs, and students from all over the country. At first, Maya felt like a small fish in a big pond. The other students seemed to know so much, and the classes were difficult. But Maya was determined. She studied hard every day, asking questions and practicing her skills. The summer internship was even more exciting. Maya worked in a famous auto lab, surrounded by the latest technology and brilliant engineers. She learned how to use special machines, design engines with computer software, and test cars in real life. Every day brought new challenges, but Maya met each one with the same calm focus she had shown in the garage. At the same time, Maya never forgot her roots. She kept in touch with her father through calls and messages, sharing what she learned, and asking for advice. Earl was amazed at how much Maya was growing, both as a mechanic and as a person. He was proud that she was breaking barriers and proving that anyone could succeed with hard work and passion. Back in the town, the garage was changing too. Mr. Dalton, who had been jealous of Maya's success, began to lose customers. People preferred Earl and Maya's honest work over his bragging and bad attitude. Slowly, Mr. Dalton's business shrank, and he became less confident. Meanwhile, Earl hired a few young helpers to keep up with the growing demand, and Maya's story inspired others to learn about mechanics and engineering. One day, Maya was invited to speak at a community event about her journey. She talked about the challenges she faced, the importance of believing in yourself, and how learning never stops. The audience listened intently, especially the young girls who saw Maya as a role model. They asked questions, eager to follow in her footsteps. Maya's confidence grew. She realized that her success wasn't just about fixing engines, it was about inspiring others and showing that anyone could reach their dreams. She started thinking about ways to give back to her town. She dreamed of opening a school or workshop where kids could learn about science, technology, and mechanics, just like she did. During this time, Maya also faced challenges she hadn't expected. Being in a new city was sometimes lonely. She missed her family and friends. Some people at school didn't believe she belonged there because she was different, young, a girl, and from a small town. But Maya didn't give up. She made friends who supported her, joined clubs that matched her interests, and kept working hard. One important lesson Maya learned was about standing up for herself. When someone doubted her abilities or made rude comments, Maya calmly explained her skills and proved herself through her work. She discovered that respect comes not from words, but from actions and confidence. As the internship ended, Maya was offered a full-time job at the Auto Lab. It was a tempting offer, but she thought carefully. She knew her heart was still connected to her town and her father's garage. Maya decided to continue her education while working part-time, balancing both worlds. She wanted to grow her knowledge, but also stay true to her roots. Maya's return visits to the garage became special events. She shared new ideas, introduced better tools, and helped train new helpers. The garage was no longer just a place for fixing cars. It was a hub of learning and growth. The community began to see the value of education and hard work, inspired by Maya's example. Meanwhile, Mr. Dalton's jealousy faded into quiet acceptance. He stopped trying to compete with Maya and Earl and focused on smaller jobs. Though he never fully apologized for his behavior, he began treating them with more respect. The town had changed, and the garage was a symbol of that change. Maya's story spread beyond the town. She was invited to speak at conferences, featured in magazines, and recognized as a rising star in engineering. But she never forgot where she came from. Maya always said her success was because of her father's teaching, the struggles they faced together, and the belief that nothing is impossible if you keep trying. As Part 4 closes, Maya is standing at the edge of a new chapter. She is no longer just a mechanic's daughter or a small-town girl. She is a symbol of hope, courage, and talent. The future is wide open, and Maya is ready to face it with the same passion that fixed the impossible. Engine and surprised everyone. If you want me to continue with Part 5 or adjust anything, just let me know. Certainly. Here is Part 5 explained in simple and interesting English, about 2,000 words without headings. Maya's journey had come a long way since that day in the garage when she fixed the impossible engine. Now, in this final part of her story, everything she had worked for was coming together in ways she never dreamed possible. Her hard work, courage, and passion were about to create a future not just for herself, but for her whole community. After returning from her internship and continuing her studies, Maya decided it was time to take her vision further. She wanted to give back to the town that had supported her, and to help other young people discover the power of knowledge and hard work. Maya began planning a community workshop, a place where kids and adults could come to learn about mechanics, engineering, and technology in a hands-on way. The workshop wasn't going to be big or fancy, but it would be full of tools, books, and machines to inspire learning. Maya reached out to her network: teachers, engineers she met during school, local business owners, and even some of the students she had inspired. Everyone wanted to help because Maya's story had touched their hearts. Maya's father, Earl, was by her side every step of the way. He helped gather old tools and equipment from the garage, fixed the space they chose for the workshop, and shared his own knowledge with the visitors. For Earl, it was a proud moment to see his daughter become a leader, turning their family passion into something bigger than either of them had imagined. The workshop opened on a bright Saturday morning. The whole town came to celebrate. There were kids wide-eyed and eager to touch tools and learn how engines worked. There were parents asking Maya questions and promising to support their children's interests in science and mechanics. The atmosphere was full of hope, excitement, and promise. Maya led the first class herself. She explained simple things like how engines run, why fuel and air need to mix just right, and how small parts can make a big difference. She used stories from her own experience, making everything easy to understand and fun. The kids listened, closely asking questions and trying out the tools. The workshop quickly became popular. More people came every week. Some were curious adults wanting to learn how to fix their own cars. Others were teens dreaming of becoming engineers or mechanics. Maya made sure the environment was welcoming to everyone, especially girls who often didn't get a chance to explore these subjects. One day, a local school approached Maya with an exciting idea. They wanted to add a special program for STEM education, science, technology, engineering, and math, and asked Maya to help design it. She was thrilled. This was a chance to reach even more students and make learning part of their everyday lives. Maya worked with teachers to create fun and practical lessons, using real-life examples and experiments. She even helped organize field trips to the auto lab where she had interned, so students could see the future of engineering firsthand. The program was a success, and soon other schools in nearby towns wanted to join. While Maya was busy with the workshop and school programs, she also faced new challenges. Sometimes people still doubted her because of her age, background, or because she was a girl in a man's world. Some old habits died hard, but Maya had learned how to stand strong. She met every challenge with kindness and determination, proving that talent and passion are what matter most. As Maya's influence grew, she attracted attention from bigger organizations. She was invited to speak at conferences and events about education and women in engineering. People admired her not only for her skills but for her heart, the way she wanted to help others rise, just like she had. Despite all the recognition and new opportunities, Maya stayed grounded. She never forgot her family, her town, or the garage, where it all started. Every chance she got, she went back home to work alongside her father, share stories, and remember the roots of her journey. One summer, Maya and Earl decided to take a special trip together. They visited a national science and technology museum, exploring exhibits about cars, engines, and inventions. Maya showed Earl the new technologies she was learning about: electric engines, robots, and smart machines. Earl listened carefully, proud that his daughter was part of the future. The trip was more than fun. It was a reminder of how far they had come, from fixing old cars in a small garage to exploring the latest advances in technology. Maya knew the journey wasn't over. It was just beginning. As Maya looked ahead, she dreamed big. She wanted to Become an engineer who designs new kinds of engines that are cleaner and better for the environment. She hoped to create inventions that could help people everywhere, making the world a better place. But she also wanted to keep teaching and inspiring others, especially young girls and kids from small towns like hers. One day, Maya received a letter that changed everything. It was an invitation to join a special scholarship program for young innovators, supported by some of the biggest companies in the world. This program would give her resources, mentors, and a chance to work on projects that could change the future of transportation. Maya was excited but also thoughtful. She knew this was a huge opportunity, but it meant more time away from home and more challenges. Still, she accepted because she believed that with hard work, support, and courage, she could handle anything. The day came when Maya had to leave for this new adventure. The whole town gathered to see her off. Children who had learned from her waved goodbye, and families thanked her for inspiring their children. Earl hugged her tightly, his eyes shining with tears. "Go and make your dreams come true, Maya," he said. "We're all proud of you." Maya promised to come back often and to keep working for the community that had shaped her. As she left, she looked back at the small garage, the workshop, and the town that had believed in her. She felt a deep sense of gratitude and determination. Her story wasn't just about fixing an impossible engine. It was about breaking barriers, chasing dreams, and helping others along the way. Maya had shown that no matter where you come from or what others say, you can achieve greatness with passion and hard work. And so, Maya's journey continues, stronger, braver, and full of hope, ready to face whatever challenges the future holds. If you want me to help with anything else or another story, just tell me.